Hey there and happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the time to catch today's replay. If you are watching the replay, please comment below and let me know so I can come back and greet you and answer any questions that you may have. Now, I'm super excited for today's topic. And let's start with a question that I have for you. If you were given the opportunity to get in front of your dreamiest clients with a 30 to 45 minute talk tomorrow, would you be ready? If not, today's session is for you. I'm going to talk to you about your signature talk. Now, if you don't know me or don't know me well yet, let me introduce myself. My name is Carrie Price. I'm a brand messaging coach, helping ambitious service-based business owners find and own the words to stand out, be heard, and make your message roar. And one of the best ways to get your message out there and make it roar is to get speaking opportunities in front of groups of your dreamiest clients. And this is intimidating and overwhelming for some people to think about. Maybe you don't know what you would talk about, right? Or you don't know how to pull that together and what should you say? And what if I'm in front of a group and I need to customize it? Well, I've got you covered. We are covering all of that today. Now, if you're joining me live, please say hello so I can welcome you as well. Drop any comments that questions or comments that you have as we go. And if you think that this information would be valuable to your communities, please share. So, last week, some of you who follow me, have followed me for a while, may have seen me post about this. I had the opportunity to speak at the Evolve Women's Conference, which was its inaugural year, and it took place at the University of Texas Tyler campus, and it was amazing. A packed room full of amazing businesswomen that I had an opportunity to speak to, truly so honored to talk to them. Now, what you might not know is I used one of my signature talks, and I have two, and I'm going to talk to you today about what a signature talk even is, why you might need one or two, as in my case. I'm going to explain to you why I have two and how they're different, how to determine yours if you don't yet have one, and how to tailor it to the audience that you're talking to so it feels like a custom talk without completely rewriting your talk. Okay. In fact, I spent less than an hour customizing my talk for this group so it felt personal and it didn't feel like a canned talk, although it's something that I speak about pretty regularly. Hey, Tracy. Hey, Corinne. So good to see you. Thank you for joining me live today. Definitely let me know if you've got questions as we go. This is going to be jam-packed and I hope super helpful for you guys. So let's start by talking about what a signature talk even is. You may have heard that term before or not, but really think of this as your main topic that you speak about or that you want to speak about. And let me know in the comments if you already have one. And if not, that's okay. We're going to talk about that today. But hey, Debbie, so good to see you. Thanks for popping on. So your signature talk is kind of your main talk that you could talk about pretty much at the drop of a hat, or that you want to get out there more because it's your primary message. It's the way that's going to establish you as an expert, build that credibility, and let people see your expertise in a really confined way, right? Typically, it's 30 to 45 minutes. If you're doing TEDx talks, are those like 18 minutes? So you've got to be able to get it smaller. Sometimes you get up to an hour, but you want to have a talk that is able to communicate a lot about what you're about, but really adding value to the audience and the recipients of your message, right? So it's giving tons of value. This is not a sales pitch. It's a valuable talk that you can give to help educate, inform, and identify and attract some of your dreamiest clients to you, right? So why do you need one? And even if you don't ever intend to speak at conferences or get on a stage, by creating a signature talk, you have an opportunity to get in front of other people's audiences. What about being able to do a guest expert live in someone else's group or even on your own page? Like having this talk, it could be your webinar. It could be any number of things. When you develop it, you're going to be able to modify it and fine tune it for all these different avenues, but it gives you that sort of concrete speech that you don't even have to think about after a while because you'll need to practice it. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk to you today about how to define what it is, how to fine tune and tweak it, all of that. But it's really one of the best ways to show up relatable for people. Right. They're able to see you, whether that's in person or online, hear your expertise. You really get to position yourself as an expert and provide them valuable information that they can take away and really remember you by, right? It's going to build your credibility. You guys have heard about know, like, and trust. People need to know you exist. They need to like you. And ultimately, they need to trust you before they'll buy from you. And having a signature talk is a really great way to very quickly build know, like, and trust. You can quickly share a lot of value with people and get them to want to follow up with you. And I'm going to share more about my experience from last week and some of the follow-up and activity that's been happening already just from that one talk. Okay. So you get an opportunity to share a lot of information really quickly. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Chris. So glad to have you guys joining me live today. Thank you so much. Let me know in the comments do you feel like you already have a signature talk? And maybe you want to wait to answer it till the end as you hear some of the things that I'll chat about how to create yours or define what it is. But I'd love to know. I hear from a lot of people like, I don't know what to talk about. Like if I was given an opportunity, I would really want to take advantage of it, but I wouldn't know what to say, right? And I want you guys to feel ready the moment you get an opportunity. Like honestly, if you had an opportunity tomorrow to get in front of your dreamiest clients, would you be able to take advantage of it? Hey, Barbara. Hey, no problem. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me live. All right. So do you guys understand now what a signature talk is and why you need one before I dive into how to determine yours? What it is that you need to create yours and make it super powerful, really connect with your audience? Questions? Chris says no signature talk, but enough content to create one. Awesome. That's so good. I'm just checking over in my group, make sure there are no questions going on over there. Okay, let's dive into how you can determine what your signature talk. I'm not going to use the word should, but let's talk about what your signature talk could be. Let's do that, okay? Because I don't want to give you a bunch of shoulds. I want to empower you with ideas that you can incorporate into your own business. So how do you determine what your signature talk could be? And I'll use my own as we go through and sort of explain to you. Actually, let me talk about how to determine it. And then I'll walk you through, I have two of them. And I'll walk you through how I created mine and why I have two. You don't need two. You can have one really great signature talk. I have a very specific reason why I have two, which you guys will understand when we get there. So when you're looking at creating a signature talk, it really should be from your messaging foundation. Now that's not going to surprise you guys if you follow me, right? When you build your messaging foundation, it really becomes a framework for your entire business. It becomes a framework for how you deliver your services, how you talk about what you do, everything that you believe about what you do. That's what I help my clients develop, right? Is this messaging foundation. And then when you have that, very often it gives you the framework for delivery of your service. So you guys are not going to be surprised to hear that my position is I help you make your message roar. The framework for how I help my clients develop their messaging foundation is built on how I make your message roar, right? So first, if you think about roaring, you have to take in a breath, right? So there's activities we do to draw in the information that's going to fuel the ability to roar. And then we break it down. I help you determine what makes your message relatable. Once you have that, then you can work on defining the elements that make your message one of a kind. Then you have the framework that makes your message actionable and you're able to start to put it to use. And then you're able to show up and make your message reliable. Time after time, everywhere you show up should have a consistent message, right? So that's the framework for how I help you build a messaging foundation. Now, that's my message. That's how I talk about messaging. It's how I deliver on my service. It's also what I talk about in my signature talk, right? So I take the entire framework of what I teach my clients and what I support them in building, and I talk about that and I inform my audience why it's important. What are the various elements that you need to have in your messaging foundation? How it gives you a competitive advantage. Look, you guys, your message is strategic, right? So I'm going to tie it back to like, should people care to develop a messaging foundation? It gives you a competitive advantage in the market. It truly helps you stand out. And most people won't fully develop a messaging foundation. So by doing it and having a message that helps you stand out, you're going to rise above the competition and more people are going to be attracted to you, right? So when you have that messaging foundation, you've got that framework, it guides everything, right? It guides what you do, who you serve, why they should care, right? Like all of that. So when you think about your signature service and you want to talk about that, you're talking about the framework of what you do, not from a selling point. So when I gave this talk last week, and again, I'll dive into a little bit more detail about that in a minute. There was no sell. The only call to action I had, because you should always have a call to action, but the only call to action I had was, I'd love to stay connected with you. And I invited people into my group. I invited them to come join me for these weekly free trainings, these free messaging mini classes. And I said, hey, let's just stay connected, right? So I could provide a ton of value, and I'm going to share with you some of the results from that by not even like selling, giving a signature talk, really showing up as an expert, builds that instant credibility, right? All right, Corinne says, I have a couple versions. I need to have one to nail for anything from 15 minutes to an hour and different audiences. Yes, we're going to talk about that today too, Corinne, how to modify your talk to work for different audiences nearly on the fly. Hey, Lindsay, so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. Christine, it's so cohesive, focused, and valuable. Thank you, Christine. Yeah. When you have that in your own message and you know, this is how I talk about what I do. This is what I believe about what I do and who I serve and how it benefits them. It makes it much easier to like take that up and create a signature talk from it. So even on last week's Facebook Live, we talked a little bit about free content versus what people need to pay you for, right? And I know a lot of people are really uncomfortable. One of the things I shared that was shared with me before from one of my coaches was you should give away enough free content that it makes you a little uncomfortable. Like you're giving so much value. There's a little part of you that's like, am I giving away too much? But let's be honest, whatever it is you do. So my program is a 3-month program and you get like lifetime access to support from me. There's no way I can give away everything in a 45-minute talk. Yeah, I could, even if I tried, I couldn't give you 3 months of program content with all my best tips and my support and my feedback and my guidance in a 45-minute talk, right? But I want people to walk away with things they could start doing right then for themselves. So there's 2 approaches that you can take, right? You can share that framework like I talked about, and I'm going to dive deeper into both of these in a minute. Or you can go deeper on one thing. So if you look at whatever you offer, maybe there's one piece. Maybe it's the first step, the first piece that gets people hung up. Maybe you can go a little bit deeper on that topic. And that's your signature talk. And basically what it does is it helps to highlight the problem for people, helps them recognize like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't even know I had that problem, but let's say I did. I knew I had that problem. Ooh, lots of great things to think about, but now there's more, right? Like what's the next thing after that? So you give people enough to get started, and they're going to need more. And maybe they'll come back to you to do that, right? So let me just share with you a little bit more detail about my 2 signature talks. So this gets more concrete, right? Like give you some real examples. So the first one is actually the talk that I did last week. And this is my primary signature talk. Now, whatever content you're putting out there, especially with something like a talk, it's kind of like when you put out a freebie. You want to know what it's leading to ultimately, even if you're not selling. Okay. So like I said, when I did this talk at the conference last week, I wasn't selling anything, but I know that that talk is a natural segue into my signature program. Okay. Because basically I talk about all the things that I help my clients develop. And if somebody was like, oh, wow, that was really interesting. And yes, she helped us think about how to get started with it, but I need help. They're going to reach out and ask me. I'm going to go, I actually have a program to help you with that, right? So when you think about your topic, think about it needs to be something that's rooted in your message, in your area of expertise that would ultimately lead to a service offering that you have if somebody wanted help, right? So that talk is to help you go from blending in to boldly standing out, okay? And basically, at the framework of this talk, I talk about 3 of the biggest branding mistakes that I see people make. No judgment, but you need to be aware of them so you can avoid them, right? And then I break down the 7 foundational elements that you need to develop in your message. And I don't just tell you what they are. I tell you why they give you a competitive advantage and what you can start doing right now today to develop them on your own. So it's valuable information. Like these are things, maybe not everyone's thought about this stuff before, or they've heard bits and pieces of it, but they didn't know they needed all 7 pieces, right? So it's an educational thing, but it drives home value. Like, but why do you care to have this? It gives you a competitive advantage in the market. Most of your competitors will not do it. So it allows you to stand out, right? And then I'm like, look, I want you to start thinking about or developing that today. So I give them one tip, one thing that they can start doing to think about creating that for themselves. Now, in reality, again, because I can't cover everything that's inside a program, they're going to be able to get started. But for some people, they're probably going to get stuck and they need more help. And then they'll reach out, right? So it's enough to get them going. And yes, some people will take that and run with it. And maybe it'll be harder and take them longer, but they're willing to do that. Awesome. I want them to get real value because even if they never sign up to be a client with me, but they got value from what I shared with them for free and it helped them in their business. Maybe when they come across somebody who's struggling with their message, they'll say, oh my gosh, you need to go see Carrie. Carrie can help you do that, right? Whether it's with my free content or faster, easier, better inside one of my paid programs. Awesome. Okay. So I share in that talk that my whole framework. What are the 7 elements? Why you need them? What does it do for your business? How you can start developing it. That whole thing's built on my messaging foundation, right? It's about helping you make your message roar. So I also drove that home in the talk, right? Why does all this stuff make your message roar? How does all this stuff help you stand out and be relatable, one of a kind, actionable, and reliable, right? It is my message through and through. This is why I say a signature talk is really easy to pull together once you have your messaging foundation built, because you just lift it right out of that, right? And that becomes your talk. Now, even for those people who took the value from that session and are running with it on their own, they will never be able to fully complete it just with the free talk. They'll make progress, and I do really want that from them, for them. They'll get some clarity. They'll move forward. There will come a point where they can't move that forward anymore by themselves because messaging is probably not their area of expertise. And it's always hardest to work on our own stuff, right? So at some point, they'll probably reach out and want some help, and I'll be here for them. Now, if you want to see an example of that signature talk, it is also my free masterclass in a different variation. So I basically am prepping for that talk last week. I have a free masterclass that helps you go from blending into boldly standing out, right? The 7 foundational elements that you need to make your message roar. I took that masterclass content and stripped it down to the core, right? Because with a masterclass or a webinar, like there's other things that you might add, and it's a little longer than 45 minutes. So I wanted to get this down to 40 minutes so that I had 5 minutes for Q&A. You guys will know that's hard for me, right? I talk a lot. I did it in 40 minutes, tons of value, and had plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So if you want to see what my signature talk is, you can go get instant access. I now have an on-demand instant access recorded version of that masterclass. You can go to carrieprice.com/masterclass. I'll put that up on the screen for a minute. And you can go watch it and you can see. You should not be surprised. If you've followed me for any length of time, you should not be surprised by any of the content in that masterclass. But it's delivered in a really valuable, action-packed way so that you can take that information, start applying it to yourself. And if you need more help with that, then I'm here to help you. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about how to modify that. I'll come back, by the way, and tell you what my second talk is. But I want to take that and talk a little bit more about how I modified it and how I could do that on the fly. So when I first took the masterclass slides, and I just stripped out stuff that didn't need to go in my presentation. I just kept the core slides. Yes, I rearranged stuff a little bit. Here's what I did to modify it. So the theme of the conference, it was called the Evolve Women's Conference, and it was help women to evolve in all aspects of their life. So I delivered my exact same talk, and I added 2 things to the slide deck. I added a bullet I added to the agenda. Because I renamed the subtitle of the talk. It was from blending into boldly standing out, evolving into a memorable brand, because it was all about evolution, right? So, and I believe that your message always evolves, but it was about evolving into a memorable brand. So I added a bullet point to the agenda and 1 slide, like, why is it important to be memorable? That's all I did, all I added, which, by the way, all the content on that slide is stuff that I talk about all the time. Right? It's all the reasons why it's important to have a message that helps you stand out. It's because the market is saturated. It's easier than ever to start a business. That means there's a ton of competition, and competition's not a bad thing, but you better know how to stand out from them, right? People have short attention spans, so you need to be able to get and keep their attention very quickly and give them something they're going to remember. This is all stuff in my messaging foundation. I just threw it on a slide. And now I had a tailored angle for this talk for this conference. And then as I was talking through my slides, because I know that content very well, I've delivered that content dozens of times now. Because I know my content really well, I knew exactly where I could weave in how this helps you be a memorable brand, how this helps you evolve into a memorable brand. Exact same content. I didn't add anything to the bulk content of the slides. I just wove that in what I already knew. Because even though I tailored it to the conference, it wasn't a leap. It wasn't like all of a sudden I was talking about something that wasn't my area of expertise, that wasn't in my core message, right? It was very easy for me when I got to a specific slide to really call out, like, and this is a key step that helps you evolve into being memorable. And this is why that helps you be memorable, even though it wasn't on the slides. Does that make sense? So when you really understand your message and you get really comfortable delivering that talk, you can do that on the fly. So even, again, even if you're not doing this on stage, but you want to do it as guest expert talks in other people's groups, your talk feels so much more personal and relatable when you're able to tailor it to the audience. Anytime I have an opportunity to speak in somebody's Facebook group or as a guest expert inside their paid program or on stage, I always ask, is there a theme? Is there Is there something in particular your audience is really struggling with or would love to hear that I could focus on? Because if I can tailor my message and focus it even more for them, then it shows that I really care about them, right? It's not about me. It's not about me talking. It's about me sharing information that's truly valuable for that audience. And the better I can understand the audience and I could tailor the talk, the better connection that I make with that audience. Does that make sense? Who feels like they understand their message enough that they could do that on the fly? Like right now, you could talk about it. If I said, okay, you're going to get in front of a group of people that's your dreamiest client. Here's the thing though, that they're maybe really struggling with more. Could you tailor your talk and still feel like it's your message coming through? Who feels that way? And if you don't, share that too, because I want to help you think about that a little bit. Okay. If you're watching the replay, let me know that too. I will come back and respond to every comment, even if you're watching the replay, okay? This all comes from having confidence in your message. It really does make it very easy to create and modify a signature talk, okay? Let me talk to you about the second talk that I have to give you an example of a different kind of talk, because you don't have to have two, but you might choose one of these two as the method that you choose to have a signature talk. And that's to take one thing and go a little bit deeper. Okay, so of all the things I talk about, this whole framework of your message, there's one piece that I can go deeper on, and that's creating your impactful introduction, right? I have a cheat sheet that leads to that, right? You can go grab my formula, the formula that I teach all my clients to use. You can go grab that for free, right? To get the formula for an impactful introduction. And I have a signature talk that explains all the elements of an introduction, why it's important to have one, how this works in your overall message, but then I break down a little bit more, what to be thinking about for each of the things when you fill in that blank, right? And again, this puts me on the edge of like, am I giving too much away? Now that talk, I typically is like when I'm asked to do like a 20 to 30 minute talk, it's shorter. I still usually go about 30 minutes. Like I can't help myself but to like share information when given the opportunity. But that's a 5-day mini course with me, right? I have a 5-day mini course that goes into more detail. Like each day, the recorded video is somewhere between, I think, like 7 to 10 minutes with a worksheet of my best tips to help you really fill the blanks in impactfully, with support from me to like help you massage it. Because the first time you fill in the blanks, if you've ever grabbed my cheat sheet, it's like long. It could be like a couple hundred words, and that's okay. That's where everybody starts. That's where I started with mine. But there's like really specific things to help you get that concentrated and more impactful, right? And I give you some of those tips in the free talk, but I can't give everything away in 20 minutes. That's a 5-day mini course with me, right? So again, right on the edge of being uncomfortable that it's too much, but knowing that I clearly can't give them everything in 20 minutes anyway, I can just freely give value. Okay. Okay. Christine says, I feel like I could talk around 10 minutes without losing focus, and any longer I'll be trailing off and losing focus on the core message. That's a really great comment, Christine, and thank you so much for sharing that. So here's the thing, you guys, and I try, I'm not very good at I don't script these Facebook Lives every week. And every week when I do have a bullet points though, so I don't miss anything. Every week when I bullet point everything out, in my mind, I'm thinking, that's about 15, 20 minutes, right? But then I get on, and especially if it's live and you get some interaction, there's going to be comments, there's going to be questions. Yes, you might divert a little bit, but as long as you're staying on message, as long as you're not like trailing off and talking about something that's not related, it actually allows that to be more authentic and more relatable. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. My guide for myself for these weekly lives is I plan for no more than 15 to 20 minutes of content, knowing that means I'm going to talk for probably 30 to 40 minutes. Last week, we ended up going an hour, I think, and it was just, there was lots of great engagement. It totally stayed on topic. It stayed on message. But when people comment, it helps you spark ideas and that lets it be spontaneous. Do you want to know what else that does? It lets people know you're truly an expert at what you do. Because even if a new idea comes in, you're able to run with it and stay on message. You're like, you really know your stuff, right? So if you stick to the script and then somebody asks a question or a comment and it derails you and you go off track and you get uncomfortable about it, right? That's like, you need to be so comfortable in your message that someone can throw something in there at you and you can run with it and just like be a champ, right? Christine says, thank you for that feedback. I've been doing that in my recent videos and find it very useful. Yeah. I'm so glad. Okay, Tanya, the link in the description doesn't work. Okay, I will check that out after. Yep, that's okay. The carrieprice.com/notify me doesn't work. All right, type that in. It should work. If you want to get notified of the topics every week, you can go to carrieprice.com/notify me. I don't know why that one's not working today. I'll check it out. All right. So when you are, so I got derailed. That's okay. But you know what? That's live and that's real. And people want to know like you're a real person and you'll interact with them, right? Especially if they're going to join you live, you don't want to ignore the comments. Like that's the benefit of doing it live. If I just wanted to talk at you and share my information with you, I'd pre-record it and then you could just watch it, right? I love Facebook Live because I can hear and see what comments and reactions you have about that, even if it's derailing a little bit. And that's okay, Tanya. All right. So that's how you can modify and tweak, right? So if you're not yet feeling so comfortable in your message and how you can talk about anything, I've talked about this a couple times. You guys, I can take any topic and relate it back to messaging, right? Anything. I've talked about the Olympics and how that relates to messaging. I've talked about games I play and how it relates to messaging. I've talked about cars I've bought, how it relates to messaging. I've talked about my cat. Like when you really have that messaging foundation built, like it just becomes like the way you see the world. It's the lens through which you see everything. And so that's why like every week I have never run out of stuff to talk about. I have an endless list of topics for Facebook Live. And I usually try and do stuff that's like coming up recent. So whether it's challenges clients are having that I can like leverage and speak about, not about them, but like, hey, here's a problem that some of my clients have. You might have it too. And I might speak about the problem. But when you have the confidence that you can talk about anything in your area of expertise in a one-of-a-kind way, it makes it so much more fun. You're more confident. You're so much more relaxed. The way you show up with your message. Okay, so here's what I would love for you to do now, whether you're watching the replay or joining me live. Sorry, I jumped around on my notes with my eyeballs and I got myself distracted. Okay, I would love to hear more about what your signature talk is or what you would like it to be. So inside my group, The Messaging Den, you can go to themessagingden.com or search for it right here on Facebook. You can go to in the group and there's a post. It should have posted while I was on this live. Actually, I scheduled it to post 3 minutes ago. Look for the post with the hashtag signature talk. And what I would love for you to share with me in there is, do you have a talk that you could give, even if you don't have it developed yet? And if so, what is it? Even if it's like, look, it's not fully fleshed out, but given an opportunity, this is the topic that I would love to talk about. I'd love for you to share that. If you don't feel like you know what your signature talk could be, I'd love for you to share that with me there too. Safe space inside my group, no judgment. Because if there's something that we can just chat about on your comment to start giving you ideas for things to think about, because here's the offer I'd love to make you. If you would like to practice your signature talk, I would love to feature you as a guest expert inside my group. So what that requires is that you go into my group, The Messaging Den, if you're not there already, you look for the post with hashtag signature talk and you share with me what your topic would be, or that you don't know but you would love help figuring out what one is. And then I will give you an opportunity to submit the information to apply to be one of my featured guest experts. Because here's the thing, you need to practice the talk. And before you go out there, maybe on your own platforms and other people's groups where like it's filled with your dreamiest clients or on a stage, I want you to get really comfortable with your talk. And the best way to do that is to practice. And the best way to practice is, yes, you could practice it by yourself, but I promise you it won't be the same as when you're on the camera in a group. And so I want to give you an opportunity to do that. Like I said, I've done both of those talks dozens of times now, whether it's on my, in my own group, here on the page, in other people's free groups, inside people's paid programs, and on the stage. I've given both of those talks in all of those different ways. And it takes that to get really confident. Now I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And if you were there in the room last week when I was speaking at the Evolve conference, please tell me this wasn't noticeable. But even as confident as I am, this was a packed room of it was such a great day, and the tables were full. I got the mic in hand. I've got the clicker to advance the slides. And it started to shake a little bit, you guys. Like, even as confident as I am in my message, I got it was adrenaline more than nerves, because it was exciting, but there's always I really just want to be great for these people. I really want to show up and give value. And it took me about to my third slide where I was like, Carrie, breathe. But and I've done this talk a lot of times. So you need to get comfortable doing yours. So if you want an opportunity to do that, head into my group, look for the post with #signature_talk, and share that with me. Okay. Hey, Rhonda, no problem. The replay will be here for you. Absolutely. Sorry that you stepped away. Thank you so much for coming back. Hey, Leanna, so good to see you. Barbara. Okay, let's talk about this. Barbara says, I'm fearful of stage fright. Totally, totally normal. Let me hide this other guy. Did your comment show up? There it is. Sorry, I have too many things on the screen. They're all overlapping with each other. We all have that. No matter, especially the very first time, right? Even people who do it for a living that are speakers, even extroverts get nervous, right? Even as comfortable as I am with my content, and I've delivered this content multiple times, I still got okay, here we go, right? That's totally normal. It only gets better with practice. Same thing with Facebook Lives. I think I've shared this story multiple times now, but before I ever did my first video, and it wasn't even a Facebook Live, I just wanted to record a 3-minute video. I literally practiced filming myself for 2 hours. I filmed it, watched it, hated it, filmed it again, watched it, hated it. Finally, just 2 hours later, did it, and I didn't love it. And if you go back and look at some of my early Facebook Lives, don't love those either. It only gets better with practice. And so that's why I want to invite you inside the messaging den to have an opportunity to practice. It's a safe place, loving, nurturing, supportive environment, so that you can start to get comfortable, so that you can use that in your own business, out there on your page, in your own group, and in other opportunities you have to get in front of your dreamiest client. I want you to get really confident with your message. Okay. Barbara says, how many times does it take to overcome stage fright? For every person, it's different. I'm going to guess, by the way, even the most seasoned speakers, there's a little bit of adrenaline and nervous energy before you start. And to be honest, I don't know if I ever want that to go away. So like I said, even last week when I spoke, I had the mic and I had the clicker, and there was just a little bit of the buzz happening, right? It was adrenaline. Yeah, it was a little bit of nervousness, but it wasn't because I didn't know my stuff. That's, I think, the big difference. If you know your stuff, you could talk about it all day, every day. You know exactly how to incorporate any question or comment that comes in. I think that's where most people get nervous. They're afraid they're going to lose their train of thought, or they're afraid that it won't be perfect. They're afraid someone's going to ask a question and they won't know an answer. By the way, this comes from my business analyst days. I never have a problem saying, you know what? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to get back to you. People would much rather hear that than for you to try and flub up an answer and like make it up. And if you give yourself like that's okay. It's okay for me not to know all the answers. That alleviates some of the pressure, but I never want like the adrenaline buzz to go away, because what that does is it helps me be super present and deliver my very best every single time. I mean, I do these lives every week, right? 11 a.m. Eastern every Tuesday right here. And I always have notes and I always know what I'm going to be talking about. There's always a little bit of like, whew, okay, it's go time. Right? And there should be. Like for me, I embrace that energy because I know that means I'm trying to show up and give my very best every single time. So don't let the nerves stop you. Find some safe places to practice so that you can just get over that initial, like, how does the technology work and what happens if it goes bad? Because all that stuff's happened to me, you guys. I've had Facebook gremlins or tech gremlins kill my live in the middle of a talk. Like, stuff happens. It's okay. You kind of need that stuff to happen so that you know, oh, that went wrong and I lived and I recovered from it, and it's okay. But you'll only get that if you practice. Tanya says, stage fright. It got bearable after I made people laugh the first time, and better after I had them tear up. Yes. Getting that emotional connection with people and really, like, they're not just listening to you, like they're feeling with you. Huge, Tanya. Huge. That's awesome. She says, I even brush my teeth right before going online. Yeah. Whatever helps you just feel like you're ready, right? Sometimes you got to psych yourself up. Sometimes when it's a topic, I'm like, maybe I'm feeling a little less confident than other. I dance it out. I crank up some music that makes me feel good. And you guys, literally, I'm like in my office or here in my studio and I'm like dancing it out. Whatever it takes to get you like pumped up and ready and confident, right? You kind of need to embrace that nervous energy a little bit. Okay. I'm going to wrap it up because, again, I always talk longer than what I planned, but I love it. Thank you for those of you who are joining me live. And again, if you're watching the replay, please let me know so I can come back and thank you for making the time. But head on over into my group. I'll put the URL back up. It's the Messaging Den. You can search for it on Facebook or just go to themessagingden.com. Look for the post with the hashtag, what did I say it was? Signature Talk. You guys have notes, by the way. I have them right there on the screen. Look for the post with hashtag signature talk and share with me what you would talk about if you could, or if you don't know, let's chat about it. And let me know if you would like an opportunity to be a featured guest expert in my group. I only feature one guest expert at any time, one a week. We'll promote you. We'll be there to encourage you. And even if you say you want to like practice and you know it's going to be rough, and like, don't feel like you have to show up and not be real. Like sometimes I'm like, hang on, I got to look at my notes. Like I lost my train of thought. Like that's real, right? That's an authentic connection. So if you want to practice, head on over into the group. I would love to see you there. And if you would like to be notified of my topics every week, right here on my page, I'm going to go fix the link that's in the description, but go to carrieprice.com/notify me to get the topic sent to you directly into Facebook Messenger every week. You'll have an opportunity to say, yep, you want to join me, or no, thank you, not interested. And you can unsubscribe from that anytime just by messaging me back with the word stop. But that way you'll know what topics I'm talking about and you can decide if it's something that you're interested in listening to. In the meantime, don't settle for blending in with everybody else. There is only one you, and you are amazing. I want you to stand out and be heard. Go out there and make your message roar. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye.